Uh,
Mm.
I,
It's all good.
I'm gonna do the same.
Adds authenticity.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's all authentic now.
It's what that's all about. And uh, well, hello and welcome to the Zing Revenue Show. I gotta not talk too loud because I'm surrounded by colleagues. But yeah, welcome. And we're a bit cheeky right now because we've started a bit early, and it's a lovely day in Sydney. You know, the just beautiful. There's no rain. It's just glorious sunshine. And
Mhm.
yeah, hello, Stewart Marshall. How's it going?
Hello, Simon. Very well. Had a nice day off yesterday, so back in the saddle today, working hard, kind of.
Wonderful, wonderful. Stuart, well, before you tell us, about yourself, maybe we could just do a simple, getting to know you icebreaker thing. Let's pick something random. What is your favorite color? What's your favorite color and why?
Blue, I think. I genuinely don't know. I don't know that I have a favorite. It comes and goes. I do
Okay.
have, as you'll see in my LinkedIn profile pic, I've got this bright pink shirt, which I
Ah,
quite like.
okay.
Which is
All right.
because I'm an IT guy, right? We're all terribly formulaic and slightly scary. And I came to the conclusion some years ago I didn't want to be the
Mm,
average IT guy, so I thought, well, the bright pink shirt was quite a thing.
that's
I like
cool.
that.
That's
But I
really
mean,
cool.
I wear blue. I wear blue
Yeah.
predominantly, so I guess
Okay. All
blue is
right.
my favorite color.
Okay. All right. For those of you who are buying gifts for Stuart, now you know for his birthday.
Yeah, bright pink, please.
Yeah. Okay, Stuart, we're live now. Tell us a bit about yourself, your professional background, and
Do you want the long version or the short one, Simon?
oh, please go
How?
ahead. We've got all day.
Okay, well, okay. So the long version
Mm.
is I was one of those kids at school who was perhaps reasonably bright, and I passed my 11 plus, which meant you got to go to the grammar school as a kid. I went to the same one that Shakespeare apparently went to, but obviously, as I like to tell people, not at the same time. And
That's
so and I went through school
Stratford on
and
Avon, right?
sorry,
Uh,
say again.
that's the Shakespeare's town, Stratford on Avon or
Stratford
something.
on Avon, yeah,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is where
yeah.
I grew up around there.
Wonderful.
And I was one of those kids who went to school and didn't really get on with organized education. I didn't. I wasn't really a good fit for that sort of mainstream of academia, and so I ended up kind of bumming around there, not really doing much, leaving and not doing much after that, and never went to university, and ended up going back to college and doing a TAFE equivalent of something in
Wonderful.
IT because it seemed like a good idea in the mid
Nice.
80s.
Yep.
And so I kind of did that, and
Hmm.
that's got me my first job in IT.
Lovely.
And I've got a connection lost. Oh, there we go. No, we're back again.
Ah,
It
yep.
got me my first job in IT, and as a technical support guy in rural Warwickshire, doing not a vast amount, waiting for the person in front of me to die, that kind of old school business.
Yep.
And again, what clearly wasn't a fit for me, wasn't where I felt comfortable at all. And as luck would have it, they were building a platform using this Australian high speed development or 4GL case tool as it was back in the day.
Nice.
And the result of which was I got a call from Tony from Laser Recruitment
Nice.
and back in the 90s, and he said, "Oh well, Lancer, they're looking for people. Why don't you apply for the job?" I'm like, "Oh, no, they wouldn't want me." And he's like, "Well, how would you know if you don't try?" And I couldn't fault
Exactly.
his logic.
That's
Couldn't
that's
fault him
good.
at all. So I applied for the job, and much to my surprise, got the job. And a few years later, 99, we came here on holiday, had loved it, and literally emailed the boss and said, "Can I come and work in Sydney?" He went, "Yeah, right."
Wonderful.
And so I came to Australia, and the result of which was I was the opinionated bloke in the support team. And so they punished me and gave me a job in the development team. I was the opinionated guy in the development team. And so they punished me with project leader, the next big thing. And fast forward to 2017, and I sort of spent 20 years in software R&D, and that looking at that and getting to the point by my mid to late 40s and thinking this is no longer my place, which is a scary thought at 48. I have to tell you, it's a very, very frightening idea.
Okay.
And I didn't know what to do, but I knew I didn't want to be where I was, so I left. Which, no parachute, no job, no idea where I was going and what was going to be next. But I came out, and a friend of mine said, "Oh, well, go and see these people. They'll know what to do with you." I'm like, okay, good as gold. Stupid me, no idea what's going on. So I went along to this program, which was the Dent KPI program. They said, write a book as part of, you want to make a name for yourself, write a book. So I went home, and literally in the space of 43 days, I wrote a book. I got up in the morning, wrote 1,000 words, wrote another 500 in the afternoon, had a book. Did that, went to market, ended up meeting Richard White from WiseTech.
Nice.
And he said, well, come and work with me. I'm like, okay. And so that was October 99. He said, well, we'll do it in the new year. Yeah, great, awesome. And we did do something in the new year. We did COVID. And so instead of going off to WiseTech, while Richard was busy reorganizing his world, I was left to deal with the realities of the COVID times. And so I started writing a second book.
Right.
All about really what is my sweet spot, which is software, and the creation of software and the reasons for it and the whys and the wherefores. And I kept meeting people who were spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they had no real sense of what they were doing. They had an idea an idea that would make them loads of money if they could just build a software company to sell it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean the usual sort of challenges.
Quick exit.
And well, even just not even necessarily for exit, just for building a platform and going to market and making some money by selling it.
Yeah,
because there's plenty of good money, certainly in the business space. There's plenty of money to be made.
Margins are quite high.
Yeah. So I started writing this book, and then WiseTech came and went. And so I finished at WiseTech and thought, well, I better go and I should probably finish that book. And so I wrote book number 2. So always have them lying around if you're on a live stream, I say.
That's wonderful.
So I wrote a book all about the nice people I met who wanted to get into software and thought it was a good idea. And all of the things that they need to look out for and what they should and shouldn't do and so on.
Nice.
And that was really it. That's been my marketplace, and it's what I've been doing, a bit of consultancy here or there, and advisory stuff for government and so on and so forth. And then I was chatting with a very good friend and mentor and now co-founder of Software Australia.
Nice.
And we were both talking about this idea that Australia is fantastic, that we have this extraordinary country which is pretty wealthy. 13th largest or 12th, 13th largest economy in the world. Yes. 27 million people now, thousands of software businesses. Why have we got such sort of a poor record of jumping on top of this and saying, hey, this is brilliant, we should be shouting all about this? Well, why do we underachieve with our software market, despite doing very well? That we could always do so much more. And so we talked about this, and it was one of these ideas that sort of came and went. And I'd sort of put it together, and I was calling it SaaStralia. SaaS as in SaaS in Australia. I thought it was a nice portmanteau and something I could do something with. But I got no real sort of traction, idea or coherence around it, no structure at all, just an idea.
Yeah.
And then I was out having dinner with Mrs. Marshall, who is invariably the wiser one of the two, as is always the case. And we were talking about the ideas for SaaStralia. And he said, well, it would make a lot more sense if it was not for profit.
Right.
I'm like, you mean like some kind of industry association? Like an industry association, love? Yeah.
Cool.
like the Australian Software Industry Association, the Australian Software. Oh, and so this structure started to form
Mhm.
around the idea of there being 8,000 now, nearly 8,000 today, businesses that are involved either in the creation of software for sale or the building of platform for other people.
Right.
And 100, so 160,000 people, something like that. It's a $12 billion revenue industry. It's twice the
Wow.
size of the lamb industry. So kind of
Mm.
put it in perspective for you.
Mhm.
And so this idea started to form about, well, why is there not an association that supports these people?
Mhm.
Why aren't we helping them be so much better at being software businesses? You know, we ought to be doing this. Is in the national interest.
Yeah.
And so this idea of the Australian Software Industry Association came along, and I pitched it back to my mentor and good friend Dennis Tebbett,
Mhm.
and it's like, well, this is a good idea. He says, yeah, right, I'm in. Yeah, Dennis says, I'm in. He's in his 70s. He dragged him out of retirement to help me build this. And it went from the Australian Software Industry Association, which has an unfortunate acronym of Asia, which is probably suboptimal from an SEO point of view.
Sure.
And so then I was dicking around one day looking for domain names for a charity.
Mhm.
And while I was there, I thought, oh, I wonder if Software Australia is available. Thinking, no, not a chance. Don't be stupid. And there was softwareaustralia.org just sitting there for $25.
Cool.
And being the cutting edge entrepreneur that I am, I promptly ignored it for a fortnight, and then went back and bought it. And so, and then we kind of got into this next phase of, okay, what to do with it? How do we go from we've got this idea? How do we actually build an industry association? And nobody tells you how to do this, right? You can't go on a how to build an industry association course because
Sure.
they don't
Sure.
exist, or if
Mhm.
they do, I can't find one worth looking at.
Yeah.
And so we said, oh, okay, what do we need? We need I know we need an advisory panel. We need somebody on the team.
Yep.
And we kind of got ideas about what we were going to do and what the delivery.
Mhm.
We thought we need some people on the team. And so on October 21st last year, I put
Mhm.
a little free ad on LinkedIn saying, wanted volunteers, advisory panel for Software Australia. Here's the pitch. This is what we're looking to do.
Yep.
Yeah, we want to help our software business. And was
Mhm.
absolutely amazed, stunned at, the first 50 people who turned up. There
Mhm.
were a few who'd gone, oh
Wow.
yeah, I love that, and
Mhm.
had a go. But the first 50
Mhm.
that turned up
Mhm.
were incredible. I mean, extraordinary caliber of individuals.
Wonderful.
Um, and the only problem was I actually quite literally had a heart attack the following day.
Why was that?
I
Oh. Oh. Oh.
mean,
Sorry.
quite literally had a
Right.
heart attack. Ended
Right.
up in hospital,
Oh
and
dear. Oh
not
dear.
not for anything to do with that. Just that
Mhm.
was a bit of serendipity in the world. So
Mhm.
ended up having a double bypass last year. Came out, and I
Sorry
spent
about
my convalescence
that.
talking to these 50 people. That's what Dennis and I did in the run up to Christmas, and we talked to a bunch of people, and
Mhm.
we've now built the board. The business now exists. Um,
Wonderful.
we're getting close to something approaching a launch. I've got
Beautiful.
commitments for platform to run
Mhm.
it and a whole bunch of stuff just
Yep.
bubbling away, ready to press the do it button. Okay, let's go. And
Mhm.
so that's kind of where we are. We're at this point where we're
Mhm.
actually going to go to market
Mhm.
and try and talk to government ministers and people in opposition and anybody and everybody and important people in the industry to say, look,
Yeah.
here is this
Yeah.
part of the industry landscape that isn't currently being serviced.
Mhm.
We're going to do it. We're going to look
Yeah.
after everybody. We're going to help them all out. This is a team game.
Mhm.
How do we all work together for the greater
Exactly.
good?
Yep. Yep. That's
And
great.
that's kind of where we
Mm.
are.
Mm. So let me get this straight. So Software Australia. By the way, what's IA at the end of the Software Australia? That's an I.
So
Oh,
there,
Industry Association. Right. Got
back in
it. Okay.
19 back, yeah, back in 1990,
Mhm.
um, long before anything, there was a gentleman in Australia who launched a business called Software Australia.
Right.
And he's had this business name for 30 years or so.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
don't doesn't appear to do anything. But I've had a brief chat with him actually. It
Right.
doesn't appear to do anything with it.
Okay.
But from a legal point of view, it means we
Sure.
can't go to market
Yes.
strictly
Yeah.
as Software Australia because we risk
Got
him
it.
suing us or whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Hmm.
I'm hoping he's going to be very amenable and help us out. But I mean, if he doesn't, then
Hmm.
we have to be Software Australia IA to differentiate ourselves. IA for Industry Association
Makes
to
sense.
differentiate
Yeah.
ourselves from
Hmm.
the incumbent.
Yeah. Makes
But
sense.
a bit of luck, we'll all get to
Hmm.
work together in an organised fashion.
Sure. Sure. Um, Hungry Jack's Burger King. Yep. Um,
Same, right?
and I've talked with you earlier about this, and Software Australia looks like a community for that 7,000 businesses and
Hmm.
industry participants. Of all ranks,
Yeah.
all types of people involved in the industry. To come together and would you say publish content and you
So,
know
well, it one of the problems we have in Australia, and this is not just an Australian thing. This is replicated throughout. Is
Mhm.
that people create industry associations and they naturally gravitate towards being, firstly, member led
Yeah.
and member run. So they act as communes or kibbutzes or that kind of
Mhm.
common group, but
Mhm.
they're self-governing and whatever else. And I don't know that's the most effective way of actually organizing an industry.
Mhm. Mhm.
The other thing that they do is they tend to end up with a monthly meeting or
Mhm.
some monthly event or an occasional extra event. But you go along, you go to your monthly thing, you listen to some
Yeah.
government minister bang on about
Yeah.
God knows what,
Sure.
and that's what you get for your money, along with the ability to vote because you're a member-based organisation, so your vote is an important thing about who's going to be the next president, who's going to be on the advisory panels, and so
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
And you get to act in some kind of um, lobbyist kind of uh, play.
Mhm.
And that's fine, right? I don't want to be critical of them because they serve a valuable function and everything is
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
But I don't see the world through that lens.
Mhm.
What I see is 8,000 businesses, and particularly in the software space, a lot of young businesses run by young people.
Mhm.
People who are coming out of university with no practical real world
Yeah.
experience. Again, not to be critical, just
Mhm.
observational,
Mhm.
and they don't know about HR or IP management
Got it.
or what they should do for their privacy policy, and there are myriad topics
Mhm.
that they don't know anything about. I mean, they can write code, right? They can build platform.
Sure.
How do they actually then really go about the business of being in software? How do we help them better commercialize?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I look at the point of view and say, well, okay, well, yeah, as Dennis would say, this is a community of common interest, which is absolutely right. We're
Mhm.
all here hoping to build something that is going to be so much bigger and better and whatever else.
Yeah.
How do we do that? Well, the way we do that is actually delivering value to them, starting by, sure, content is number one,
Mhm.
but it's not just content, is it? It's not just about writing a few things in the occasional video. It's about regularly doing this predictability, getting questions answered.
Mhm.
And so our go-to-market strategy is a combination of written content from anybody we can get to put pen to paper or keyboard to screen or whatever, video content because I want to talk with every single software founder in
Mhm.
Australia about the troubles they had.
Yes.
We're going to do live events, hopefully fortnightly, but I mean, in an ideal world, every week,
Mhm.
where people can actually ask a question, submit a question, and say, right, we'll be on the live stream this week, this Friday, 1 till 2, or whatever it might be. Your live questions answered.
Mhm.
So that people are paying a relatively a reasonable amount of money, I suppose,
Mhm.
but actually getting some fundamental value on a daily basis, or certainly every couple of days or every week. That it's
Wonderful.
not they're not just paying for some people to lobby government periodically and chuck on a monthly
Yeah.
event. That
Yeah.
this needs
Yeah.
to be an active
Yeah.
community where we're all engaging with each other and helping each other because it's essentially success is a team game.
Yes.
So that
Mhm.
it's that kind of idea. I need to work on my pitch, right? Because it's not not
Sure.
the best yet, but
Sure.
that's the kind of idea that we're looking at.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, we're gonna just shift focus a little bit towards the big hot topic that's on everybody's minds, and that is
Mhm.
AI.
Yes.
And what are your thoughts on AI with regards to Software Australia, and how can it help the industry move forward? In this time, and in this time in history when it's AI is such a huge thing.
Well, I mean, there's an hour's podcast here just on that one question, right?
Sure.
Um, w- we have a real problem in Australia at the moment, which is messaging. That's our biggest problem with AI is messaging.
Yeah.
We have numerous practitioners. We've been at it for 40 or 50 years. AI is nothing new.
Mm,
Large language models and um, the chat GPTs, Claude's, co-pilots, etc. of
mm,
the world
mhm.
are new. AI in and of itself is a 50-year-old technology,
Yeah.
at least,
Mhm.
that has inverted commas been we're going to replace human intelligence within 10 years. It's been
Mhm.
doing that for the last 15, and no rush to do
Mhm.
actually succeed yet.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it's massively valuable
Yeah.
because it's just
Yeah.
software.
Mhm.
It's just a tool we can use to help us be better at what we do,
Absolutely.
as all
Absolutely.
software is.
Mhm.
And I get very frustrated by the fact that we can't distinguish the meaning and value of what I call real AI, commercial AI,
Yeah.
from the somewhat tawdry retail AI that we see through the likes of ChatGPT, etc.
Mhm.
And funnily enough, I posted about something this morning
Mhm.
on a similar vein. Rio Tinto
Right.
are using AI models to help predict train issues because they have automated trains. So they're looking for maintenance issues and they're using AI to
Yes.
predict that.
Yes. Yep.
There's similar stuff. University of New South Wales has an extraordinary project going on
Mhm.
which detects water main deficiencies,
Mhm.
and it helps with preventative maintenance.
Yeah.
Because we don't, the last thing we want to be doing is digging up a street to fix a water main. That's a
Absolutely.
bad thing, right? We
Yeah.
need to be
Yeah.
doing what we need to do long before that is the
Yep.
need.
Mhm.
And it turns out that AI models listening to the sound of water going through a water main
That's great.
are better at predicting
Mm.
failures than experienced engineers, and by a significant factor.
Mm.
So we have these two lenses on AI, which is this is the retail one, which we see all day, every day, is terribly tawdry,
Mhm.
and really of what I refer to as something free we found on the internet,
Mm.
which in the history of mankind has rarely been of much great value. And then there are the more commercial uses where people are using. I mean, and there's a certain amount of agentic large language stuff that goes on in these things, but
Mm.
it's serious software being written by serious engineers to solve
Yeah.
serious problems. Like, that
Yeah.
has a very big value.
Yeah.
It's massively important.
Mhm.
But of course, whilst Rio Tinto and the big guys are the obvious targets for this stuff,
Mhm.
we down there in bigger small businesses, certainly in the mid tier,
Yeah.
there's huge opportunity to make use of
Mhm.
preventative technologies, image recognition, for example.
Mhm.
All of
Mhm.
those sorts of things. There are
Yep.
massive opportunities for us to make
Yep.
use of that.
Yep.
Now, whether that's a software business building something and then selling it, or whether it's actually a business and saying, "Well, gosh, look, we're
Mm.
hemorrhaging 500,000 a year on this. We
Yeah.
should write some software to
Sure.
try and solve it."
Sure. Sure. Sure.
The value is huge,
Mm.
and if we stop focusing on the AI side of it and just think of it as software, which is all it is, right? I mean, it's just software.
Mhm.
Then we get a much better lens on it. And I think we'll be more likely to embrace it.
Yeah. 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 And uh, on a related note, since AI is now roped into the Trump, you know, um, trade war with China, Australia is now uniquely positioned because it's, China's like the biggest, customer, and America is like our biggest ally. So, what do you think the future of the industry is from a global perspective? With regards to how we can contribute solutions for not just domestically, like Rio Tinto, but also, for industries across the world in fast-growing regions, like, for example, Middle East and the Far East and Southeast Asia and
Mhm.
Africa. Yeah.
So Australia is beautifully positioned.
Mm,
We are an English-speaking nation. We're well educated. We've got plenty of money.
hmm
What everybody says, Australia is a wealthy nation by any predictable any reasonable measure.
hmm
Uh, and we're full of bright young things
hmm
with good ideas.
Sure.
So, and this is really part of the Software Australia mindset, which is you guys are all out there, you all want to do it. We just need to
Yeah.
provide as
Yeah.
many tools as we can to help out. But
Yes.
we're in Perth is the same time zone as Tokyo.
Yeah.
We're the gateway to Asia. Now,
Yes.
we're very good friends with the guys in Singapore,
hmm
who are really the gateway to Asia, right? I mean, we're kind of like the gateway to Asia, but
Sure.
we have an opportunity to take what we do and
hmm
move it around the world and just be good at it.
hmm
And our challenge, the many challenges here, uh, one of which is how do we get our capital moving? How do we get people to invest? How do we get past this sort of naturally conservative mindset
Yeah.
and what I call the Australian desire to dig big holes and grow things, which is where we spend most of our time and our
Sure.
efforts. Yeah,
Yes.
there are lots of cultural things we need to get past, and uh, but the reality of it is that we have got a good track record of commercializing our stuff internationally. WiseTech, my former employer,
Yes.
is a
Yeah.
great example of that. I mean, they're one of the
Yes.
world leaders in logistics software.
Yeah.
Canva is obviously smashing it
Sure.
out the park.
Yeah.
Atlassian are doing none too shabby. Employment Hero are great. Deputy is a sneaky little number that is going on in the background
Yes.
worth God knows how
Yes.
much a year.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, we are doing really well.
hmm
What we don't do is talk about it.
Right. Marketing.
Yeah, I'm the guy sitting in the corner just shouting, right? I mean that's kind of me, but we're trying to do something about that. But
hmm
we don't talk about it. We don't celebrate our technology successes. We have Sam
Absolutely.
Kekovich every Australia Day banging on about lamb, and it's an industry half the value of software.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna go get Sam to do some software ads.
Sure.
Um,
Sure.
yeah, it's that kind of thing. We need to get some cultural icons,
hmm
but there's no reason why we can't be bigger and better and a global digital leader if we so choose. I mean, this
Yeah.
is pretty much the fat bit of it: is do we want to
Yeah.
do that?
Yeah.
Now, I would say that um, I'm not representative of the IT industry anymore. I'm one of those. I'm a grey-haired white fella. Yeah, that most of the industry are under 35
Sure.
and have come into us are either immigrants in Australia or trained here, whichever it is,
Yeah.
and they're all brilliant. They
Mm.
all have technical skills that I could only dream of, and they want to do great things with technology. And at the moment, we're not helping them. So
hmm
I see, my fantasy future, I suppose, is that I get up every morning and there's a headline in the press about how an Australian business is absolutely smashing it out of the park again
Yep.
because um, we've found some technology solution to some medical condition or to a finance thing or an agricultural problem or real estate or legal. I mean, there's great companies in Australia doing stuff in the legal space. Juris Techni is a great one. They're
Mm-hmm.
building their own pure AI model
hmm
to manage claims, so
Nice.
legal claims and lawsuit type stuff. I mean, brilliant. I barely understand what's going on, but Mona Chia, who runs it, is stunning, stunning woman. Yeah, we,
Wonderful.
we we have all of these things that we can do.
Yeah.
We have people with ideas, and we just have to empower them to get them to market and help them
Absolutely.
out and help them
Absolutely.
drive that.
Absolutely. And that's where Software Australia comes in.
Yeah, that's kind of the idea.
Wonderful. That's great.
I mean, it all might fail miserably, right? But yeah, I can't be bothered to die not trying. We'll
That's
come and have a
that's
go, and we'll see what happens.
that's a wonderful mindset, and I commend you for the courage, to lead this effort. And I think it's a long time coming. When I first came across the organization name, I thought to myself, wow, that like we've been thinking about IT from a hardware perspective for far too long. Now we need to really realize that we have a massive IP treasure here, in Australia.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I mean, if you think so, we've got Tech Council aside because they're slightly different, but the two incumbent organisations we've got looking after our computing space. You've got the Computer Society, of which I'm a member,
yeah.
uh, otherwise known as the Cardigan Society, which is terribly unfair, though no smoke without fire, oddly. Um, and the AIIA, which is the Information Industry Association. And ACS started off as a disparate group of computer societies, the Perth Computers or the WA Society, New South Wales, and then they all got together and formed the ACS. But again, this member-led thing,
Hmm.
which is beautifully dysfunctional. I mean, it's a fine organisation, but has many age-old problems. And AIIA started off as essentially a lobby group for the big tech firms in the late 70s. And
Right.
that was all about getting, big iron, big
Hmm.
IBM stuff,
Sure.
and ICL and so on, getting them into Australian government. And that's where
Mainframes.
they started. And they kind of haven't really moved on from that position particularly
Hmm.
well.
Hmm. Hmm.
So we looked at it, we're just looking at the landscape and saying, well, there's just this big gap.
Hmm.
Nobody is really addressing this space.
Yeah.
And Software Australia was just, we have Cricket Australia, Rugby Australia, Netball Australia. If I can get a couple of cultural icons up the front, the same as they have for each of their particular sports, then
Sure. Sure.
we'll be doing just fine.
Beautiful. Well, we've crossed the half hour threshold, so I will now ask you how can people contact Software Australia? How can people contact you, and how can they get hold of your books?
Well, you can buy Kick Some Sass at a variety of places. Um, Amazon is probably the easiest one because a quick search will find it.
Sure.
You can no longer buy Doing It for Money. That's out of print. But if anybody wants a copy, then I'm very pleased to give them one. I
Okay.
don't
So
write books for making. I don't write them for making money. Let's put it that way.
sure.
They're more because I need to write things down as much as anything else.
Sure.
I can be found on LinkedIn
Hmm.
or Software Australia. You can just go to softwareaustralia.org.
Yeah.
We're not yet alive in that sense, but you can send an email to info@softwareaustralia.org or contact me or whatever you want to do. I'm always happy to engage as I literally have nothing better to do with my working day. Yeah, that's it.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you,
Or they
Stuart.
can get
That's
in touch with you, Simon, because you know where I am. So
yes. 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 And thank you, Stuart. That's just an amazing, short glimpse into the plans and the potential of Software Australia. I can see that there is so much potential there. And sorry, I'm just distracted by the echo. So thanks once again, and
no, thank
really
you.
appreciate your time. I don't think this is the last time we're gonna talk on a live stream. So I'll catch up with you soon, and we'll have part two as to how Software Australia is traveling along. Maybe we could get to know some of the board members and know the vision and what are the resources that entrepreneurs, both current, upcoming, and season,
Mhm.
can dip into and enrich themselves. So thanks to it. Really appreciate your time and have a lovely day.
Fabulous. Thanks very much, Simon.
Yeah.
See you
Thank
next time.
you. Yeah. Cheers.